This video is going to be a look at the Ravens offense at the halfway point of the 2022 regular season. I guess slightly more than halfway now that we have a wonderful 17-game schedule in the regular season. What we're going to try to do here is show some of the data related to two personnel groupings. We have in our database every offensive play recorded and in the database. Apparently, we don't have every one of them labeled. We have 630 plays overall so far this year, and 518 of them we have labeled completely. Well, you'll see some empty columns in some of the data that I'll show you here today. So we're close. I don't know if that's a representative sample for you or not. If it isn't, then that's fine. I feel like it is, but certainly the goal will be to have all of them labeled. To be honest with you, there is no slant. I have taken intentionally no perspective here in trying to persuade or dissuade anyone from what they think. I'm really just trying to show as much of the data as possible. It took me a long time to complete this. The idea is to show the data for 21 personnel and 12 personnel. Two personnel groupings, and to be honest with you, one of them is balanced in terms of run pass overall, and the other one certainly is not. If I told you that one group had Pat Ricard on the field, obviously 21 personnel, and the other one did not, 12 personnel, one of them was substantially more balanced than the other, you would probably guess that the one with Ricard on the field is the one that is the least balanced, and you would be wrong. Personally, I would have not guessed the data either. And if I only watched the games live, I didn't spend a lot of my own personal time watching the film and categorizing it, labeling things, which I feel like helps me understand it more. I don't feel like I'd be able to understand those things as well if I just watched the game live. If I only watched the game live, I would probably guess that Ricard being on the field was the biggest indicator to us being predictable. You'll hear some paper shuffling. I kind of had to make some notes to make it a little organized for you guys on your end. We're going to go over some formations out of the personnel groupings. So I'll just throw that up on the screen now. We're going to talk about 21 personnel first. We have 163 plays so far out of 21 personnel. So there you see two classic 21 personnel formations up there, Ram and Lion, and we'll talk about those in a moment. Out of those 163 plays for the Ravens, the data that we have is 83 runs and 77 passes, and those passes include scrambles as passes, even though officially they count for run plays, obviously. But the design of the play was a pass play, so we're talking about the intention, not necessarily how it turns out. So 51% run, 49% pass out of 21 personnel. Then we have 12 personnel, 121 plays, and that is the personnel grouping that is far more skewed. So 121 plays out of 12 personnel. We've got 21 runs and 96 pass. So pretty heavily weighted towards the pass, obviously. And those two groups, 21 and 12 personnel, comprise 280 some plays out of the 630 overall that we have in the database. That's about 44% of what we have. Maybe we're missing some. Maybe if someone wants to go back and add up all the plays from the games, maybe there's more. Maybe we're 10 off. Maybe we're 12 off, and I'm not sure. I think we've got a pretty big data set, though. And then we're going to subdivide it or maybe reverse engineer it into some personnel groups on 1st and 10. And I suspect that this video is going to be in the 30-minute range and that it's going to require, well, we're going to do 22 personnel as a separate video because I suspect some people aren't going to want to watch that one. So 21 personnel, which is what you see up on the screen, and there's going to be some scrolling. So that is a video where I'm scrolling. I'm not going to be scrolling myself right now. I actually recorded myself in Excel. 1st and 10 for 21 personnel. We've got 40 runs, 41 passes, and 1 penalty. And so 1 outstanding play because there's actually 83 overall plays on 1st and 10 out of 21 personnel, and we've only got 82 of them documented. So 50-50, right? 40 runs, 41 passes. 12 personnel on 1st and 10. we've got 9 runs and 20 pass. So quite unbalanced, right? And I'll show some plays to hopefully supplement, what we're talking about here. We'll show some plays in a moment. I'm not trying to present you with answers, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to persuade you to take any perspective for real. The data is interesting to me. I spend a lot of time with it. Other people do too. Tyrod and a couple of others, Frank and a couple of others in the Discord. I'm just trying to share it with you. And then you can draw your own conclusions about the data, the trends, the patterns, whatever. I don't spend as much time on personnel who we could have, should have, acquired, drafted, traded for, released. I mean, those things are out of my control. And for me, in the way I do things and my experience and my background, it's a waste of my time. Doesn't mean it's a waste of your time or anyone else's who thinks about those things more than I do. So those things don't concern me, for real. They just don't, because of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to record data, interpret the data, hopefully record it and interpret it accurately for you, and then be able to give you content that utilizes that data in a way that, maybe other people aren't utilizing data, but other people are probably offering you plenty of things that I'm not. So hopefully sometimes during the game you can recognize or reverse engineer situations or patterns. So the first one let's do, I think, is a bunch. All right, I'm going to pull some plays up here. And you saw that there was 2 bunch iterations, right? The first one is 21 personnel. And that's 8 runs and 14 passes. So not 50-50, 40-60, I guess. Maybe 38-62. And then the second iteration of bunch is 12 personnel, which is way weighted towards pass. 3 runs and 13 pass. You guys saw the data up on the screen a moment ago, I think. So just really an interesting formation that the Ravens have used to attack defenses this year. We'll go over a handful of plays here. Here's your bunch. This is going to be a pass play. When we're in bunch right A, it's usually pass. This is late to Ricard. It's kind of a shocking play in that New England game early in the game. Second drive, I think. It's a 2nd and 13 out of 21 personnel. So when we go bunch and Ricard's on the field, he's the slot. Sometimes he stays in and blocks. Sometimes he chips and releases, like he does here with Judon. Try to slow down the pass rusher. And you can see Lamar's comfortable getting him the football late. That's not the point of the video, to be honest with you. So if you want to get caught up on Ricard catching a pass, go right ahead. The point is that we're able to be multiple no matter who we have on the field, even though we have a fullback who is obviously limited in terms of his skill set. Bunch left pistol. I think this is going to be a scramble by Lamar because it's man free by the Giants. Man free has been a defense that Lamar has typically scalded because of his ability to scramble. This is dating back to his rookie year, even, to be honest with you. He saw a lot of zone his rookie year. And then 2019, 2020, you had so many situations where people were playing man-free. Even the Patriots in that Monday Night Football game in 2019, where he's just able to get out of there. He actually dissuaded the Patriots from playing man-free. They went away from man-free later in the game. We have so many big plays out of bunch. Whether it's in the gun, whether it's under center, it's been quite productive for us. I'm really only showing you about 4 or 5 plays from each formation. I am not trying to persuade, like I said. I've said now 3 times. What I am trying to do is promote. I'm trying to promote understanding of formations and what you can guess, make an educated guess about pre-snap when we line up in certain formations. Our bunch has been a dangerous formation this year. It's a great catch by Duve over the middle. Our bunch has been dangerous this year. It's our first 2 passing touchdowns of the year was to Duve against the Jets out of bunch right. It is a spread formation, even though it's compressed. Spread formations aren't always spread horizontally. Sometimes they are compressed, and then you use that compression to bring the defense in and maybe attack them with width or attack them with drags and a post coming across the field like you kind of saw in that last play. QB sweep. 2nd and 12 doesn't get much. I think we have one more bunch play here. We're certainly good I call this bunch. It could really probably be classified as trips, to be honest with you, with the Z receiver up there to the top side. But this counter wind back has been wrecking people all year, especially it's obviously out of the pistol. So I think we're a more multiple offense than a lot of others want to give credit. And I think we're more multiple and balanced when Ricard is on the field. Now, my yards per play out of 21, I suspect, is probably inflated. The yards per play that I have out of 21 personnel is a little high. It seems a little high to me. 6.8 for 21 personnel. I think that's probably a little high because the Ravens are only averaging, I think, 5.8 as a team this year. So that is removing penalties. So when I do the data in the database, I remove penalty from the calculations. So, like, for example, you may see a penalty here on the screen. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't see one right now. I do not. I see a -2 here for a run, but I don't see a penalty anywhere. When I have the penalty, I'm intentionally doing that so that I just know how many yards were we able to gain. Certainly, there's times where maybe a hold allows us to gain yards that we would not have gained otherwise. But when I calculate the data, I do not include penalties like that one. So that's my guess is that's where the 6.8 comes from. I think you can comfortably say there's probably 85 to 90% accuracy on that would be my guess. If the true calculation for 21 personnel yards per play was 6.2 or 6.3, I would venture to say that's probably true. But like I said, the database that we have it at 6.8. All right, the next formation that we're going to talk about is spread ram or lion. So I'll show an overhead example of it here in a moment, I think. You've already gone past it. All right, there it is right there. Sorry. So ram or lion is the quarterback in the pistol. I've got ram here with the fullback to his right. And then lion with the quarterback in the pistol and the fullback to his left. I'm not talking about what the defense would call it. I'm talking about what the offense would call it. The Ravens, they have their own terminology. Obviously, probably don't use ram and lion. That's just the system that I was given, or the knowledge that I was given. All right, so let's look at a couple examples of it. Again, it's out of 21 personnel. We don't run this really out of 12. So you've got lion here, fullback to the left, and this is going to be our counter windback. We are certainly more run heavy in ram and lion. I've got 25 plays of this in ram or lion, either one. So when I say ram or lion, like, I'm not describing, what these guys are lined up in, whether there's another tight end next to a tackle. I'm just talking about the backfield alignment. That's it. 25 plays, 20 runs, and 5 passes. So when we say the Ravens are predictable at times, it depends on the formation and how do the defenses classify and organize the formations for themselves. We have no idea. All right, I think this is a draw. No, this is a pass play. Under center, 2 back. One of the few times that we're under center with 2 back and we throw the football, because normally we don't. I think this is late to Oliver. No one appeared open initially. Late to Dobbins, sorry. You'll get a better view of it from the end zone angle. Late in the progression, no one's open. Lamar finds time, which he's excellent at, and gets the ball out here to the running back. We've been doing this a lot lately, inverting the tight end and the fullback, likely back here at the fullback. I did a video on this a couple of days ago. Being used as a blocker to the opposite side of where the running back goes. Really cool play. Lamar keeps it for 6. Broke this down a little bit, but usually when Ricard goes in motion, we're running the counter windback. So Lamar is opening this way to the right. The running back is going to that side and then veering back in this direction behind Ricard and behind, typically we've got, maybe a kick out block or a pull and then a wrap by the tackle. In this case, they've really kind of advanced the scheme a little bit. You've got Ricard going to our left offensively and then likely looping outside to lead for Lamar when he keeps it. Sick play. I'm not sure how teams are going to stop it. But who knows? Maybe the Panthers walk into Baltimore Sunday and they totally shut it down. It's an interesting advancement to the concept to me. Again, tight end Andrews in the backfield. Ricard is the guy in motion. So we would be inverted, talking about a fullback and a tight end. Again, Lamar is opening opposite the motion by Ricard. The running back is going to, wind this back, and then Lamar's following Andrews. The advancement, I would say, is that we're doing this with Likely now back in the backfield. 7-yard gain by Lamar in week 1. A lot of run plays out of Lion and Ram. Nonetheless, has been an effective formation for us this year. All right, let's get to another one out of 21 personnel. All right, trips. And you can see there's 2 versions of trips that we'll cover here. One is out of 21 personnel, very run heavy. And one is out of 12 personnel, obviously very pass heavy. So if you are a defense or a person who watches the game and tries to pay attention to it, trips doesn't just mean one thing. It can mean 2 things depending on the personnel grouping. And that is, I think, the, what do you call that game? Like where there's cups that are turned upside down and you have to find something that's under the cups. They mix it up. I forget what that's called. You can let me know in the comments section. But when we are running the ball out of 21, it's usually with Ricard attached to a tackle off the line of scrimmage. So, like, in this situation, it would probably be QB power read, where you're going to get a combo and Ricard work to the linebacker, pull by the left guard, and Lamar would be reading the defensive end, presumably lined up outside of Ricard in a wide 9. So we'd be working down, pulling and wrapping, and then Lamar would be giving it or keeping it depending on what that end does. If that end slams down the line of scrimmage towards Lamar on the inverted veer or power read, as I call it, then he would give it to the running back, and we've got some blocking scheme out here to give him some space, hopefully out on the edge. So what the Titans will do, the Titans will force a give read on that. Other teams will force a keep read by Lamar. And you're getting some of this data. I keep wanting to share this stuff in documents. Sorry. This is 21 trips. You can see all of this is 21 trips. And you can see it's pretty decent in terms of yards per play. I don't have the yards per play, but it's this column here. You can see we've been pretty effective, especially with the run plays. In 12 personnel, when we're more pass-oriented. We flip over to some of the plays from trips. All right, again, how do we use Ricard in trips? We usually use him attached to a tackle, generally going to chip. Now, this is QB power read, so this is a run play. You see the guard pulls. Lamar keeps it. 38-yard gain, almost takes it to the house. It's almost unfair that we have a quarterback who can do this. I don't know how you feel. Not really a fan of us doing it early in games, but like this is the 7th possession against the Patriots. I thought the Patriots game was the one that we handled the best in terms of Lamar being a runner. It seemed like it was later in the game. Of course, we did have Bateman at that time, so we were, in a much better situation in terms of trying to throw the ball to our receivers. Again, another iteration of QB power read. You've got Ricard here. So we're going to run it behind him, running with the running back on the opposite side, B-gun, 12-yard gain by Lamar. So our spread run game is good, but generally it's out of 21 personnel. So there's been some talk, and I've heard people say, like, we can run better out of spread. Well, maybe, but we also have a fullback on the field for a lot of this. He was on the field in a spread alignment, spread formation for Lamar's touchdown run against the Dolphins at home in week 2. We've thrown the ball well. This is actually bunch. To be honest with you, I would call this bunch. This is Duve's first touchdown catch of the season, I think, on a fade. against the Jets, like 4th DB, 4th corner. We have been seeing a lot more man this year, if you ask me, than in previous years. Unbelievable run by Dobbins. I don't know if you get the end zone angle here. You don't. Last one for trips. This looks actually 12. This is 12. Yeah, so you got Likely there, and Andrews. No, it's Oliver on the backside. A lot more pass heavy in 12. This is the underneath route on a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8 to Oliver, where he gains like 20 or 21. There you have it. Trips is a formation that's used from 12 personnel and from 20 personnel, 21 personnel, excuse me. Sorry, I was getting back to my screen. And it's kind of predictable. You know, if it's 21, we're very run heavy and using Ricard as a blocker. If it's 12, we're very pass heavy because obviously Ricard is not on the field. I think we're predictable in certain situations. I'm trying to describe some of them to you, but surprisingly to me, it's not when Ricard is on the field. Well, there's a caveat there. It's not in 21 personnel. Now, 22 personnel, that's a different story, and that's a different video too, okay? But at least in the 21 and 12 personnel comparison that I'm giving you, and again, it's 163 plays out of 21 and 121 plays out of 12 personnel. So that's the reason why I picked those two, because it's such a large percentage of what we're doing. If you add those two together, like I said, I think it's 44%, of the Ravens' total offensive plays run this year, so pretty significant. We do seem more predictable when Ricard is off the field, more pass-oriented. So, and the one thing I will say is I think our 12 personnel, and I've said this multiple times, is our 11 personnel. There's all this, look at the run-pass data for our 11 personnel. 24 overall, 24 runs, 96 passes. Now, yes, the possibility exists that a lot of that is on 3rd and long. That's true. It could be true. But that also means that that's what we as a coaching staff consider to be our 11 personnel, because we're lined up in it in those situations. All right, so twin slot is a 21 personnel grouping generally. So the way we're doing it is using a tight end as a receiver, Ricard again as a slot tight end, and then maybe 2 receivers on the other side. But we could also have we could interchange these 2 guys, which we do plenty. If Likely's on the field, he's oftentimes the guy who's in the slot. The data actually it should be 17 runs and 17 passes for twin slot out of 21 personnel. And out of 12 personnel, it's ironically 7 runs and 4 passes. So let's get to some of the film. I'm just using that picture right there to be able to flip over to the other formations. Got 5 plays from twin slot, and I believe most of them are from 21 personnel. So you'll see Ricard in the slot like he is here. This is a pass to Andrews. It's a tight slot. It's a cool concept that I don't think we use enough. For real. You're getting kind of like deep crossers. So we're trying to create the possibility of defenders running into each other in that area there, which pretty much almost happens here. I would just like to see us, Ricard be the guy, Andrews be the guy running the vertical, and Duve or somebody be the guy who's, because to me this looks like it's clearly intended to go to Andrews. It's to our right, operating left to right, and Duve's route is more like a climb route. I would say this is more of like an over route, where a climb route is designed to attack the deep third on the other side of the field from where you lined up, with Duve being on the right. That, to me, that's a climb route. To me, this is an over concept. 21 personnel, Ricard slipping out into the flats this time. I think it's been pretty effective. Some of the yards per play I don't have for formation, to be honest with you. I just have the run pass breakdown. All right, so this isn't exactly a backwards RPO in my opinion. There's Ricard in the slot. To me, this is just a read that this guy is blitzing and Lamar sees it. Now, does Lamar see it before he's supposed to hand the ball off, possibly? I mean, yeah, that could be the case. He could have seen that guy walk up and then zip the ball out here to Duve, essentially a hot route. That's absolutely possible. There's no reason why we can't run this in 12 personnel as well, especially if Likely continues to improve as a blocker. Who knows what Charlie Kolar will give us. Pistol, twin slot. So if you're unsure, just so I'll explain it. Twin is down here. This is a slot. This is not a slot. That's a twin. At least in the terminology that I was taught. A slot is a guy who's attached to a tackle, usually 1-by-1 off the tackle, not an inline tight end. It can be a tight end. It can be a fullback, as you see here. Counter wind back out of the pistol. Explained this a couple of times in other videos. I still think there's maybe some people who would like to hear it. Watch Lamar's feet and his hips. He's on the midline. You can see that the ball is just inside the left hash there. So that being the hash. Can't draw a straight line. And then as Lamar opens, he's giving the midline to the running back. What that means is he's getting off the midline. You can see everything is cleared, including his elbow, which is good. So that Drake can have the midline. Why? So he can cut it back over here. It's a designed cutback. We used to, in our option, Lamar would open in this direction. The running back would go here. So Lamar didn't have to give them the midline as much. And there just wasn't enough conflict created because they were attacking the same side. Now, this may or may not be a read, but the point is, it actually doesn't look like it's a read. Lamar's looking back. But the point is that we're attacking the opposite side with the running back and then potentially the right side with the quarterback, creating more space for this guy to have to cover. And more space means more conflict created. Moses does a pretty good job on those pulls sometimes too, I think. QB counter read at a twin slot. So you can see we were initially in the pistol, and then we move. I think we got to do a little more of that. Rather than motion guys all the way across the field, we got to do a little more of just shifting real quick and then snapping the football. Hits the Giant. Well, every run concept hit the Giants big that day, right? I think that one of the reasons that Likely has had trouble so many times is because he's playing different positions. Here in 12 personnel, he's essentially playing X receiver on the line, or Z, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a pass to Andrews to the boundary. We're taking advantage of the fact that the nickel is set to the field, like most people would against two stand-ups, two receivers. Easy completion for Lamar down into the boundary. Probably need to see more of plays like this for real, right? Where Lamar could give it to the running back. He could keep it himself, which is what 30 is worried about now. Or he could just flip it out into the flats to anyone, in this case Andrews, for a 17-yard gain. Twin slot, one of our favorite formations out of 21 personnel because we've got the fullback and a tight end on the field. So teams are generally responding with their base defense, and we get to line up in a spread formation. If you ask me, it's brilliant strategy by our coaches. All right, again, before I go over this last formation, which will be flex out of 12 personnel, let me divert back to 12 is our 11. Just because, this is a little bit of a commentary. This is my opinion. You may not agree, and that's fine. Just because more people in the NFL, in college, whatever, are using 11 personnel a higher percent of the time than us, doesn't mean that we're such of an outlier. Are we an outlier in 22 personnel? Absolutely. I hope that I have given you enough data in 21 personnel to indicate that we are not as much of an outlier there at all. And if you or anyone else is a person who wants us to be in 11 personnel more often, I submit to you that we are. Our 12 personnel is our 11 personnel. Heavily weighted, I think 21% run and 79% pass, I think is the numbers I had, or maybe it's 22 and 78 for our 12 personnel. That is heavily weighted towards pass. That is our 11 personnel. Here's the data for yards per play. Again, I suspect that this is elevated some because of the way I keep track of the stats, intentionally so. 12 personnel, 6.3 yards per play. Like I said, with penalties taken out. 21 personnel, 6.78, 6.8 we'll call it. So those are probably a little elevated, with the Ravens having 5.8 yards per play, which is 7th in the league so far in 2022, so that's pretty good. I think those numbers are probably a little elevated. All right, flex, which is our 2x2. Some people call it doubles. Some people call it double twins. Some people just call it spread, whatever. 2x2 formation, even. We are, out of 12 personnel, I think I said this earlier, 3 runs and 20 passes. You can see the 2 tight ends were the guys in the slot. Now, we can still run out of it, which we do here for a 20-yard gain that Lamar almost takes to the house. If we get a little bit better block by Duve and Lamar's able to escape, it's over. It's a nice job by Bentley and 91 filling the inside. Lamar's just able to outrun the DN to the sideline. So, yes, we can run the ball out of spread formations, but we had 2 tight ends on the field right there. We didn't have 3 wide receivers. The formation is not necessarily correlated with the personnel. You can see we are multiple. We are multiple with how we use our tight ends. Isaiah Likely is a wide receiver. Accept it. Move on. And he's also being trained at fullback. Accept it. Move on. He's a multiple guy. Mark Andrews is multiple. Mark Andrews has done a better job blocking this year than in previous years. And Patrick Ricard is multiple for this offense. Does he have a multiple skill set? No. Is he executing multiple tasks, multiple duties for us? Yes. Accept it, move on. We are more multiple than we all perceived. And this is the unbelievable play that Lamar makes and the unbelievable catch that Duve makes up the left sideline. Slow it down so you can see it again. It's always fun. I think that we're going to be a tougher out for people than in previous years in the playoffs because we are, it seems as if we are intentionally being more multiple in this regular season. I don't have a dog in the fight for real about how multiple we are. Is it multiple enough? Do I think that we're gaining enough yards per play out of 21 and 12 and 11 and 22, which is going to be a separate video? I don't know. I mean, my data is, like I said, not, I would rely on my data with 90% accuracy. This is a screen to Hill that we haven't shown enough out of spread or flex. Flex being 2x2, like I said. You know, is it enough for you? I don't know. If you were to listen to just social media, you would say no. But if you look at the data that is out there from other people who probably spend 40 hours a week on this, and I don't get to, I think I spent about 5 hours on this video in prep and getting some of the data ready. I wish there was a way for me to not be flipping pages and you guys hear all that background noise. But if you pay attention to the data that other people who get more time than I do for the data and yards per play and stuff like that, I think their data is in line with us being successful, especially out of 21. I mean, there is definitely an increase in yards per play out of 21 based on the data that I have, and I would suspect that if you have access to other people's data, I don't know the websites who keep track of all that for you and would aggregate that for you. You know, for whatever the fee is, I would suspect their data is going to be in line with what I just showed. Maybe a little, you know, like I said, maybe instead of 6.3, maybe it's, 5.8, 5.7. But we're at 5.8 yards per play for the year. I feel like that's pretty damn good. 12 personnel data is displayed there. If you would like access to all the data, I can create like a shared document and share it. It's also available in the database that we run and we upkeep. Excuse me. And anybody who is in my Patreon or YouTube channel supporter is able to gain access to that data anytime they want to. There's the flex data right there that I referred to earlier. wanted to try to do this recording one time through. My voice wouldn't comply, I guess. So look, you guys can let me know if you think it's enough. Is it multiple enough? I didn't pick 21 and 12 personnel to try to make a point. I picked it because it was the two biggest personnel groupings in my database for the total amount of plays. That's why. Because I felt like 44% of our plays that we have labeled was representative. And hopefully gave us a look at the way that we are multiple, the players we're asking to be multiple. Doesn't seem like we're asking our running backs to be multiple. Seems like it's our tight ends, our fullback, our rookie tight end, and who knows what we'll do with Mark Andrews if and when he comes back this week. Not sure about you. I'd rather see him sit out, get us another week of Isaiah Likely getting a lot of reps, Josh Oliver. I would like to see more of Deshaun Jackson if he's healthy and able to go. Looks like he missed practice at least one day this week, so maybe not. Let me know what you think of the idea of just presenting the data. I don't really care for real which personnel grouping is better, which personnel grouping gains more yards. I just care that whichever one does gain more yards, whichever one has more explosive plays, let's use that one that day. And that's why I think the data shows that we are a multiple offense. I'll do a 22 personnel video. Hopefully Saturday for the live stream. That one's going to be tough to put together. I haven't been able to spend much time on it at all. This was designed to get out on Wednesday. It took me a little longer. Appreciate it if you guys give me some feedback. I hope that you understand the idea here is just to give you the data. When you saw the video there, you're welcome to pause it at any time and look at that data as you wish. It's there for anyone to look at if they're able to access it, through the Patreon and through YouTube channel membership. Welcome to. If someone really wants to see it, I can go grab it myself and put it in a shared document, post it up as a link in the description. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of our 21 and 12 personnel groups, which one you think is more effective, which one you would like to see us use more often and why, and which play concepts you think have been our best this year. I think I have my own answer, but I'm holding that out until I see other people's responses. Appreciate you guys' time if you chose to listen this long.